This is the Sergio Rodriguez Show.
Welcome, everybody, to the Sergio Rodriguez Show, a show unlike any other. NFL Week 5 today. We have a little baseball. Later on in the show, we're going to have, from the Minnesota Twins, Mr. Nelson Cruz, six-time All-Star. And we're also going to obviously speak about the Week 6 gambling picks. But before we get started with Week 5 in the NFL, let's get started with this. Triangle Ink. Triangle Ink is the leading manufacturer in the screen printing industry, delivering the finest inks for over 35 years. Check them out at triangleink.com or call them at 1-800-524-1592. Vergona Cranes, located at 180 West Forest Avenue in Englewood, New Jersey. Vergona Cranes operates 24 hours a day, providing crane rentals, trucking services, and warehousing for storage. Vergona Crane services the New York and New Jersey area. Call them at 201-945-7209 or on their website at vergonacrane.com. Paramus Driving School. Safety and professionalism begins with Paramus Driving School, serving the North Jersey area like no other. Contact them at paramusdrivingschool.com or call them at 201-986-8300. Week 5 in the NFL, a week that was a little better than Week 4, and a week that brought us, as a father of an athlete, I hated watching that Prescott injury, and we're going to start in Dallas, in that Dallas Giants game. Dallas 37-34 over the Giants with a late field goal. But as the father of an athlete or two athletes, to watch young guy like Prescott get hurt always bothers you while you're watching the game. I've been hard on Dak Prescott, very critical on him as far as the amount of money that he wants to be the Cowboys quarterback, because I just don't believe that in a salary sport you can afford to pay someone the type of money that he wants who's not an elite level, doesn't matter who's around me type of player. But the fact is that Dak Prescott is a good football player, and the Cowboys are going to miss him. Now, look, Andy Dalton, who's going to take over for the rest of the year, is probably going to end up with the same record that the Cowboys would have ended up with. I'm not going to sit here and tell you guys any different. The Cowboys will run the ball more with Dalton, which I think they got away from with Prescott. That will help the defense. A couple of years ago, the Cowboys had a really good defense with not really much of a different personnel. And it was just because the offense was always on the field. If the defense is never on the field, then you know what? They'll be fine. So Dalton will help. Dalton's been a guy who's been a starter in this league. And he's won a lot of games. Guy who took Cincinnati to the playoffs 5 times. They'll be fine with Andy Dalton. They'll be fine. The Giants hung in there. And they led 17-3. They took the lead late before the Cowboys came back and ended up obviously winning the game. They scored 34 points, which is the most that they've scored. It was almost the most combined that they scored the first 4 weeks. At the end of the day, Danny Penny's the same thing. Barely got over 200 yards, 0 touchdowns, a big fumble, which, look, sometimes you can't blame these quarterbacks for these fumbles, but the problem is it keeps on happening to him. He's played 18 games in the NFL. 17 of them, he's had a turnover. That's a problem. CeeDee Lamb for the Cowboys continues to produce 8 for 124. And I guess the thing that Dallas is going to have to now start prepping for in the future is that Prescott contract. I'm sure they're glad they didn't sign it. Prescott's going to come back, but this might end up working out in the Cowboys' favor because they're probably going to end up signing Prescott, but maybe now they get a more team-friendly deal. Dallas is home next week on Monday night to Arizona before going on the road to Washington and Philadelphia. Thursday night, the Bucks got beat by the Bears 20-19 in a game that I told you guys while we were going over the picks for the following week that teams on Thursday night struggle on the road. And the Bucks were no difference. They only put up 19 points. And if they could have scored one more time during the course of the game, the Bears were not going to beat them. The Bears are struggling to score themselves. They're getting marginal quarterback play from Foles right now. I mean, he ended up with 243 yards, a touchdown. He had an interception. But the Bears really can't muster up any offense. They only had 35 yards rushing in the entire game. So they weren't going to score much, but the Bucks, just could not do much. Brady went for 253, a touchdown. At the end of the game, lost track of the downs, made a pass thinking it was third down when it was fourth down. He claims it wasn't. We know it was. Gronkowski finally made a little bit of an impact, 3 catches for over 50 yards. Ronald Jones went over 100 for the Bucks. Look, the Bears are 4-1. Their next 4 games are against teams that are 13-5. That could be an issue for them as they begin to jockey for a playoff spot. But if they can get a 2-2 out of this and be 6-3 out of this stretch, they're going to be in a pretty good spot. Tampa's 3-2, and they're home next week to Green Bay, which is going to be a phenomenal game. I'm excited to speak about that when I look at the lines later on. The only thing is that they do get Green Bay off their bye, so that could help in Green Bay's favor. The Panthers went on the road and beat the Falcons 23-16 in a game where Teddy Bridgewater did Teddy Bridgewater things. 313 for 2 touchdowns, nothing spectacular. He never is. But he's always solid, always consistent, always gives you a chance to win. Robbie Anderson, you think the Jets could use him? 8 for 112. Continues to be a pretty good playmaker for the Panthers. Matt Ryan, he must have thought it was Halloween already because he did his early impersonation of Danny Penny's. He went for 226 and 1 interception. Gurley for Atlanta came back and helped big time. 14 touches, 121 and a touchdown. Ridley bounced back for Atlanta. It was good to see him bounce back. He went for 8 catches and $136 a week after being shut out. After the game, the Falcons fired Dan Quinn. They fired the GM, Thomas Dimitroff. And listen, it couldn't have come any faster. That should have happened a long time ago. Atlanta's got too much talent to be playing as bad as they are. Carolina now can win 2 of the next 3 games they have. They do have the Bears at home, a game that is a 50-50 game. And then they're at the Saints, and then they play the Falcons again. So at 3-2 and with some winnable games, the Panthers are going to stay in this for a little bit. The Raiders basically shocked everyone this weekend and killed a lot of suicide pools, I'm sure, by beating the Chiefs 40-32. Mahomes went for 340, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, but he really only completed just about 50% of his passes. He was not sharp. Don't let the stats fool you here. He was not sharp. The Raiders did a good job of confusing them, especially out of the half when they controlled the Chiefs' offense. Carr outplayed him. Make no mistakes about that. Carr outplayed him. 347, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. Josh Jacobs ran for 77 yards and 2 touchdowns. The Raiders held the Chiefs to 80 yards rushing. That in itself made it very easy for them to basically defend the back end because they really weren't worried about the Chiefs really running the ball. Ruggs had 2 big catches for the Raiders. It seemed like between him and CeeDee Lamb, the Alabama connection just going crazy. The Alabama-Oklahoma connection going crazy there. Ruggs with 2 catches for 118 and a touchdown. The Raiders have a bye. Then they have the Bucks on Sunday night. So that'll be good. The Tampa Bay's got Green Bay and the Raiders back-to-back. And then the Raiders are at the Browns and at the Chargers. So that'll be interesting. Now, the Raiders have a chance again to be really a player as the playoff shapes, as the playoff picture takes shape in the AFC. The Jets. And look, the Jets lose to the Cardinals 30-10. But let's start here. The Jets are terrible, man. The Jets are terrible. I think the only more embarrassing thing than the Jets play right now is the fact that I've picked them 2 times in my Sergio Rodriguez picks, which, by the way, were 15-10. But 2 of those 10 are the Jets. The Jets. The Jets are terrible. The Jets are just impossible to watch. Impossible to watch. Kyler Murray went for 380 on them. 1 touchdown and 1 interception. Hopkins, big game, 6 catches for 131. The only bright spot for the Jets was probably Crowder, who was able to find the end zone 1 time and went over 100 yards receiving on like 7 or 8 catches. The Jets are going to be 0-10 before they play the Dolphins and the Raiders. And that's just bad. That's just, I mean, look, I'm as I was watching the game, I just sat there and I just shook my head. I just can't believe that an NFL team that practices every day is that bad. Arizona's at Dallas on Monday night next weekend. The Steelers 38-29 over the Eagles. And look, like the same story of every week with the Eagles. I got to give them credit. They just figure out a way to compete. And not only are they competing, but Wentz isn't even playing well. You know, Wentz has not gone over 300 yards passing this year. Not 1 time in 5 games. On Sunday, 258, 2 touchdowns, another 2 interceptions. He's thrown 9 interceptions this year and only 6 touchdown passes. That's going to be an issue because that team, the margin for error is so slim, and he just keeps on putting them in some bad situations. Big Ben, 3 touchdown passes, all 3 to the Notre Dame product, Chase Claypool, who also scored 1 on the ground. 4 touchdowns for Claypool. Big kid, 6'4", 230. I mean, just an impressive kid. I don't even think Notre Dame can score 4 touchdowns in 1 game against a normal team in college, and Claypool's doing it by himself in the NFL. The Steelers' next 3 games are against teams that are 11-1. The Browns, the Titans, and the Ravens. So that's going to be interesting. The Titans, who were actually up 14-7 when we were filming the show right now, when we started filming the show. So that could be 12-1 by the time this is over. The Eagles are home to Baltimore, which is probably going to be a loss. Then they're home to the Giants and the Cowboys. The Rams went to Washington and beat them 30-10. The Rams are off to a 4-1 start. And Goff, listen, 309, 2 TDs, 1 touchdown. They weren't great. But against the Redskins these days, you don't have to be great. The Redskins started Kyle Allen at quarterback. He got knocked out after just 74 yards passing. They brought in Alex Smith. Congratulations, by the way, to Alex Smith, a guy who has had over 15 surgeries on his leg after being out of football a bunch of years. Came in, he only threw for 37 yards. I don't believe he's ready to play football. If I were him, I would retire. I think that he did what he needed to do by coming back and fulfilling that. But I think that, you know, you have the rest of your life to live. If I were Alex Smith, I would probably move on. You have plenty of money, and you were a really good quarterback in this league for many years. The team formerly known as the Redskins had 38 yards rushing and 149 yards rushing total offense. That is pitiful. Pitiful. And they still haven't announced who the quarterback for their Week 6 game against the Giants is. The Rams go to the 49ers, and the Giants host the Redskins. The Ravens 27-3 over the Bengals in a game where Joe Burrow finally played like a rookie. I mean, he just did. 183, 1 interception and a fumble, and he was sacked 7 times. Now, this is probably the most important take from this game because Joe Burrow right now is on pace for like 70 sacks this year. 70, I said. 7-0. 70. They're going to have to protect this kid, or they're going to be out their number 1 draft pick before he plays 2 years. Lamar Jackson, 182 touchdowns and an interception. The Ravens, basically with their 1984 Nebraska Cornhusker game plan, played defense, rushed the ball for $161 and only throw it for 180. That's the formula, but that formula only works against the Bengals of the world. The Ravens play at the Eagles before the showdown with Pitt. The thing with the Eagles is, can you catch them looking ahead? That'll be an interesting take. I'm very interested in seeing what the line for that game is. The Saints on Monday night beat the Chargers 30-27, and the Chargers just invent ways to lose games. I mean, they just make them up. It's almost like they say, hey, how are we going to lose today? And then they show up and try to do that. They missed a field goal at the end of regulation that has plenty of leg, hits the upright, and bounces out. Bounces out. With a kicker who's really good. Badgley is a really good kicker. The Saints saved their chances at winning the division by winning this game. Justin Herbert, 264, 4 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, continues to show that he is going to be just an elite level player in this league. I mean, the first touchdown pass that he threw, he rolled right and threw the ball 30 yards off 1 foot, a dime to Keenan Allen. The Chargers blew a 20-3 lead, and they had plenty of chances to win this game. The Saints were not sharp. Breeze, good enough at times, but still at times showing his age. I'm going to make a prediction right now, though. The Chargers will win their next 5 games. I'm calling it. They play the Jaguars, at Denver, the Raiders, at Miami, and the Jets. I'm calling it right now. Bookmark it. The Chargers win their next 5 games. The Texans beat the Jaguars 30-14. Congratulations to Deshaun Watson for $39 million. You finally got your team 1 win. 359, 3 touchdowns sound good. But the 2 interceptions, even when he's good, he still leaves you wanting more. For $39 million, he's going to have to do more. Brandon Cooks, 8 catches for 161 and a touchdown. Minshew, they told us they found their quarterback, and I was a little skeptical, but Minshew, 301, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. He's 10-4 this year. Touchdown and interceptions. He's playing well. Texans are at the Titans and at home to the Packers the next couple of weeks. So let's see, Deshaun. 1-6 is looking really mighty juicy for you. Miami 43-17 over the 49ers in a game that the 49ers finally, it looks like the injuries finally caught up with them. But I think what caught up to them the most is the lack of quarterback play. Jimmy Garoppolo, the more I watch him, the more I realize he's another one that robbed the organization. Jimmy G is part of the major issues that the 49ers are going to have this year moving forward. And moving forward, if they keep him after this year. They took him out of the game, said he wasn't healthy, Shanahan said. To me, he was benched. But the defense is not playing well right now. Like I mentioned, the quarterback play with Jimmy G is not good. The only thing right now that the 49ers can rely on is Raheem Mostert, who, by the way, is just playing phenomenal football. On the other side, Fitzpatrick, 353 touchdowns. I should have picked him up in fantasy. I just knew he was going to have a pretty good game. And I didn't. I ended up playing Carr as my backup because I have Aaron Rodgers, and Rodgers had to buy. Fitzpatrick, 350, 3 touchdowns, like I said. Preston Williams, a kid who I really liked in his second year. Last year, Williams showed a lot of promise as a rookie. I think Williams went to Colorado, if I'm not mistaken. Kid who came in, a lot of promise. Big kid. He had 4 catches for 106 yards and a touchdown. The 49ers schedule is really hard. It's next 7 games. And they're already 2-3. They have the Rams, at the Patriots, at Seattle, Green Bay, at the Saints, at the Rams, and then the Bills. I don't know if the 49ers survived that, especially with the quarterback play that they're getting. Conversely, the Dolphins can win their next 7 games. I think they're only going to lose 1 to the Chargers. But they have the Jets, the Rams at home, at Arizona, the Chargers in a game I think they're going to lose, at Denver, at the Jets, and Cincinnati. I mean, the Dolphins could make a little run here, which means that the longer they keep on winning, you're probably not going to get Tua. The Browns 32-23 over the Colts. And Baker Mayfield, 247, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. You know, he's not throwing for many yards, but he's 9-4 on the year. He's doing enough for them to win. They just continue to run the ball. Without Chubb, they continue to run the ball. Hunt was great. They got a pick 6 in this game. At 20-10, they got a pick 6 from Phillip Rivers, who, by the way, looks like he's holding this team back in a major way. Phillip Rivers, 4 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. They better win the next 2 games, or I'm calling it right now. Jacoby Brissett will replace Phillip Rivers. They are at home to Cincinnati and then on the road to Detroit. In a game that was one of the Sergio Rodriguez picks for this week, we gave you the Vikings +7. Seattle beat them 27-26, and the game essentially came down to Minnesota going for a 4th and 1 from the 5-yard line going in, up 5. They decide not to kick the field goal. And you know what? I'm not going to kill them on this. I agree. I agree with this call because if you get that first down, the game is over. If you can't get a yard to end the game, then you deserve the outcome that happened, and that was that they lost. And look, the only reason why I'm going to be okay with that is because they had 200 yards rushing in this game. Cook was phenomenal early, got hurt. Madison came in, went over 100 himself. So the fact that Wilson drove them 94 yards after, put the ball in the end zone on a 4th and goal pass to Metcalf, I'm not going to blame the Vikings. They did the right thing. They could have gone up 8. I still believe Wilson's going to drive them down. In that situation, like I said, you've been rushing the ball for 200 yards the whole game. If you can't get a yard, you deserve to lose. Wilson wasn't sharp. 217. He did throw for 3 touchdown passes and an interception, but he was not sharp, especially in the first half. The Vikings dominated the game. They probably should have been up more when the second half started, and then they let up a run of 21 points and came back and took the lead again. Wilson did run for 58 yards in his game. He had 275 all Saquon yards, so that was good for him in terms of, doing enough to win. We're just so used to him being Superman. Seattle's 5-0. And look, when I look at their schedule, they're going to win 12 or 13 games. They still have all 6 of the division games. 3 of those at home, they're going to win. They're probably going to go 4-2 in the divisional games. And the schedule's not hard. They are going to do damage. And they're probably going to be the number 1 seed the way it looks right now in the NFC. The Bills are playing the Titans tonight in a game that got rescheduled because of the COVID situation in the Titans locker room or in the organization. And like I mentioned earlier, they were up 14-7. When I saw that line was the Bills giving 3 on the road, I love the Titans, especially with the 2.5 weeks off. Lucimer Auto Body, located at 27 Austin Street in Newark, provides top-of-the-line service to make your collision experience as smooth as possible. Go to lucimer.com or call them at 973-824-0113. JJ Farber and Lotman, providers of wholesale insurance at competitive rates for small and medium businesses. Go to jjfl.com or get an instant quote by calling 844-502-8923. M&J Luxury Inc. For the most unique experience in the medical transportation business, call M&J. Located in New York City with over 1,000 cars at your disposal, call them at 718-278-2222 or at 914-484-7264. You know, Major League Baseball's down to 4 teams. Tampa and Houston playing in the American League, and the Dodgers in Atlanta playing in the National League. And let's start in the American League, where Tampa is off to a 2-0 lead in the series. And realistically, the offense hasn't really been a problem for Houston. Although they haven't scored many runs, they do have 19 hits. I just don't know how Houston's going to be able to pitch in a 7-game series without really a go-to guy like Verlander. When Tampa can keep on bringing guys out of the bullpen and just continuously attack you with different guys. Tampa now up 2-0. I don't know if Houston's got the pitching to win 4 out of the next 5. Tampa only got 4 hits, by the way, in game 2. But one of them was a 3-run homer. So go figure there. Atlanta is up 1-0 in the series after winning game 1, and they're up 6-0 in game 2. Now, a couple of storylines here. Buehler threw 100 pitches in 5 innings in game 1 for the Dodgers. Leaves the game with a blister, although 100 pitches really is the max right now for most of these guys. You don't expect them to go any further than that. The Dodgers need length. They just don't have the bullpen to be able to play against an offensive team like the Braves with their bullpen. And now Kershaw was scratched from game 2 because of back spasms. And as you can see, they're already down 6-0 in that game. I just do not know how they're going to be able to survive in this series with this bullpen. It's shaping up as an Atlanta and Tampa World Series. Fairfield Physical Therapy Center, located in the Fairfield Commons Suite G106, is owned and operated by Justin Solotov, who has over 20 years of experience in the field of orthopedic physical therapy. Call Justin at 973-276-1313 and stop living with pain and discomfort. Epic Car Service is recognized as the #1 car service in the New York City area by medical transportation standards. Located in the Bronx, New York, Epic Car Service will make your commute a safe and comfortable experience. Call Epic at 718-401-3742 or at 844-666-6278. Sponsoring the Sergio Rodriguez gambling picks, or portion of this show, because the picks will be out on Instagram on Thursday or Friday. But sponsoring the gambling portion of this program is Stan Sports Center, one of the oldest and most recognized sporting goods stores in New Jersey, located on Washington Street in Hoboken and Saddlebrook. Stan's has been recognized as a historical institution. Call Stan's at 201-773-6891 or on their website at stansportsctr.com. Week 6 in the NFL. And we start in Carolina, where Carolina's a 2.5-point favorite over the Bears. That's an interesting line. The Bears are 4-1, but the Bears haven't been getting respect from Vegas. They just have not. Remember, they were an underdog, if I'm not mistaken, to Atlanta, who was undefeated. And it was the first time where an undefeated team had been a favorite over an unbeaten team that early in the year, or 3-0, 0-3 versus 3-0. It was something like that. But the point is that Atlanta, the Bears are just not getting any respect from Vegas, and this is the same thing here. Detroit is a 3.5-point favorite on the road at Jacksonville. If that line goes to 3, bet Jacksonville. Minnesota's a 3.5-point favorite at home over Atlanta in a game where both teams are going to need to win. Let's see what kind of jolt Atlanta gets from the coaching change. Tennessee is going to be a 5.5-point favorite over Houston. That line could vary because Tennessee's still playing. You really don't know how it is. There's no total even out on that game, but the early line in Vegas right now has it at 5.5. The Giants are a 3-point favorite at home against Washington in a game where I don't know how many points are going to be scored in that game because both teams are going to struggle to score. The Giants, look, they're a 3-point favorite, as they should. They're at home. That's the traditional 3-point. But what Vegas is telling you is that both these teams are even. If this game was in Washington, it'd probably be flipped. Pittsburgh is a 3.5-point favorite at home against Cleveland. And that's going to be probably the most interesting game on the board in terms of ramifications on Sunday. Because obviously on Monday, we're going to have Kansas City Buffalo. We'll get to that one. But on Sunday, that game is going to be, in my opinion, the marquee game. Baltimore is on the road at Philadelphia, a 7.5-point favorite on the road. Baltimore will win. That's a lot of points. Indianapolis is a 7.5-point favorite at home against Cincinnati. What that's telling me is they're begging you to bet Cincinnati because Indianapolis hasn't been good enough offensively this year to give anybody 7.5 points. Green Bay's on the road at Tampa. I'm going to tell you right now, looking at this line, Green Bay's a 1.5-point favorite. Tampa's going to be a Sergio special. The Rams are a 3.5-point favorite in San Francisco. If that line goes to 3, I love 49ers. If it goes higher, the Rams are probably the play. Miami's an 8.5-point favorite at home against the Jets. Seems like a lot of points in this kind of rivalry, but I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to bet the Jets. I'm not going to give the Jets in my picks this week. New England is an 8.5-point favorite at home against Denver. You know, I would probably stay away from this game because I don't even know if anyone knows what you're going to get. You know, the fact about this game is that both teams have been off for so long that you don't even know what's going to go on. Arizona travels to Dallas next week on Monday night, and they're a 2.5-point favorite. And I'm telling you right now, the Cowboys are a lock. Lock them up as a 2.5-point favorite. Lock them up. Lock them up. The game of the week is going to be Kansas City traveling to Buffalo as a 3-point favorite. And if this line stays this way, I'm going to tell you right now, Buffalo will give the Chiefs a 2-game losing streak. Joining us today is a 6-time All-Star, 3-time Silver Slugger from the Minnesota Twins, Mr. Nelson Cruz. Nelson, how are you?
Hey, thank you for having me on. I'm doing good. What about yourself?
Great, Nelson. Listen, the first thing I have to ask you, being from warm weather Dominican Republic, is how are you handling the cold weather in Minnesota?
Well, I mean, if you asked me early in my career, yeah, that was difficult. I think we are used to now. Maybe I played in Seattle, and we're similar than Minnesota. Nothing like Minnesota, but I guess as far as business, you gotta get used to,
Yeah. Listen, speaking about earlier in your career, take me back to Texas. Um, coming into the big leagues and going to Texas. Speak to me about your time in Texas, and almost winning a World Series there. The whole where you actually became the superstar that you are now.
Well, like any kid, we had dreams, and when you come to the big leagues, you figure out, oh, this is better than what I thought, and that was my case. It took me some time to figure everything out, and once I started being myself, that's when I started being successful, and when I started putting good numbers, like I can say, in the league for a while. But early years, those are the ones you want to score and learn the most you can, and that was the case for me.
How hard was it to get so close to winning that title, and that disappointment of not winning? How long did that stay with you?
Well, as far as as far as who you are, it don't matter, good and bad, and bad, they're gonna stay with you. They're gonna be the way gonna be around your life, and to be that close to win everything, and fail, really disappointed. But at the end of the day, you need to have another shot, that's my goal, so I can come back, and every chance that I have to be in the position, I try to take advantage of any opportunity that I have, and just to try to win everything, I know how difficult it is to me. Early in my career, I went back-to-back years, and I thought it's going to be easy to win a World Series in one point. So since then, I haven't been back. So it's been 9 years since last time I was there.
You leave Texas, you go to Baltimore, you bet on yourself on a 1-year deal. You go for 40 and 108. And man, after that, you went to Seattle. It's been 44, 43, 39. I mean, you've been a machine as a not only as a home run hitter, but as a run producer. You're like wine, bro. You're getting better with age. How are you doing it? What do you do in the off season to keep your body to be able to play with these young guys?
Well, I mean, if you ask any player, I don't think the body is the ones to take you out of the game, and start to slow down. And once you figure out, like that's what I did, figure out what workouts do good for myself, and what I need to rest, what kind of diet I need to get into, so my body stays on sharp for 160 something games and playoffs. So that's been my case. I learned how to stay healthy, how to what to expect, and the most important thing is to be ready for any situation, every single game. I do my work every day, so when I come to that, I'll be ready for anything that can throw to me. And thank God, the main thing is to stay healthy. That's the key for any player, and thank God I'll be able to play the last 2 years a lot of games.
Has it been easier to stay healthy because you moved from the outfield to a primary DH spot?
Yeah, definitely. It helped you with the legs, and that was my case. My hamstring, was the one that was bothering me early in my career, especially here in Texas because it was so hot. I have a lot of issues with dehydration. Once I move up and learn what I need to do to stay fresh and stay healthy, especially with the issues that I have in the past. Once I figured out that, I started to play more games, and because you play more games, but the numbers are going to be better because of that.
Speak to me about this year and how difficult or how you guys figured it out, I should say. I shouldn't put words in your mouth, but let me ask it this way. Was this difficult this year to play these games in a condensed period of time? I mean, you still put up great numbers. I mean, you were on pace again for 40 and 100. I mean, you had 16 home runs and over 30 RBI. How was this year different, good, bad? What was it for Nelson Cruz?
Well, yeah, it was difficult for everybody, with to play without fans, to play without, I guess, as far as a player now, having the computer and the technology to go there and figure out about what are you doing on the play, what the pitcher is doing, how the ball is moving, from the view of the one you want to make that adjustment. And that was the hardest part, but like I said, fans would say without the fans, that was the hardest part of everything else.
So you mentioned playing without fans. Take me back to that first game. How weird did that feel?
Yeah, it was weird. I mean, we played those games in Minneapolis, the summer time, and that was strange, and then play actually games against other teams even makes it more weird, At least in the playoff now, for the championship, they play with sometimes, that makes it more interesting. And at the end of the day, that's what we play for. We play for the fans, and they give you the extra boost, the extra energy that we need to perform at a high level.
Before we get into the fact that you won the 2020 Muhammad Ali Humanitarian Award, which is just a phenomenal award for baseball. Before I get into that, let me ask you about the playoffs now. They're down to 4 teams, Tampa and Houston in the AL and Atlanta and the Dodgers in the NL. But speak to me a little about the Tampa-Houston matchup. How do you see that? I mean, as we speak, Tampa's up 2-0 in the series. Tell me something about each one of these clubs.
Yeah, they're all pretty good, I guess Tampa have great pitching, and at the end of the day, pitching is hitting, and you see so far the teams that have great pitching, starters, especially the bullpen, are the ones who come up and I mean, all 4 teams right now, the ones that are playoffs, have phenomenal bullpens. And you see over and over, that's the one who wins games. The one who takes the World Series.
When you guys got into the playoffs this year, I know there was a lot of pressure on the Twins. They have lost before you, obviously, but they have this consecutive losing streak. Does that go into your mind as a guy who came into a team with that, or is it just it's just another baseball game and it is what it is?
Yeah, I mean, if you go back, 60 games is a lot of games. Even if you won to lose 60 games in a row, it's difficult to do. And especially in baseball, and we probably we have better teams in Houston, and we don't win any of those games. So it's disappointing. At the end of the day, we as professionals, we know they will have to deal with pressure, and pressure that comes with the game. We just have to focus and get control, and just play the game. We get caught up in what happened yesterday, what happened 2 years ago and 2 years ago, and that was the case for us.
You win the 2020 Muhammad Ali Sports Humanitarian Award, like I said earlier, for all the charitable work that you do. I mean, I'll tell you, my guy Felipe Lopez in basketball, a former NBA player, does a lot for Dominican Republic, as do you. How special was that?
Yeah, it was special. I never thought to be recognized by that name and the next of the guy who was not only on the ring, but the charity and humanitarian work that he was doing, and what he represents for so many people. He was always fighting for causes that most people was afraid to fight for, racial justice and equality. And us the player, we do all this stuff without thinking that we're gonna be recognized, because we do it because we think that's the right thing to do. And to be able to be recognized, it makes you thankful and makes you keep working hard because the things that you're doing in the right track.
Before I let you go, I got a couple of questions that I always ask players when I speak to you guys. I like to know this because I think everybody's got a different answer and a different thing that they look at. If I said to Nelson Cruz, who's the best player that you ever played with, what would your answer be?
Josh Hamilton.
Say that again?
Josh Hamilton.
Josh Hamilton? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, he's hands down the most powerful player that I played with, when he's healthy, it's remarkable what he can do in the field. Anything that you ask for a player to do it, the big running and still makes the play, throw people out, his coverage, the power, whatever the case will be, he will do it. He was the most talented player I ever played with.
Who's the best teammate that you've had? That guy that you just knew he was there for everybody. Didn't have to be the best player on the team, but that guy that just, you felt great about having in your locker room.
Yeah, through the years, he played for a lot of good guys, and I'm not even the ones that care about each other, But I think Michael Jordan shines over everybody. He was a unique guy with a lot of personality, a guy that doesn't walk up there talking a lot and throwing much inside the clubhouse. He was the guy that you want to look like and you want to be like, So that's the guy that I want to be like, because he was everything you want to be a leader.
If you need a hit to win a game and you can't have Nelson Cruz at the plate, who do you want up?
Well, I mean, we have so many good players. But I will pick Juan Soto.
I'll tell you, man, Juan Soto's got electricity in his bat.
Yeah, so he's clutch and he's just a great hitter, He doesn't swing, he pitches out of the sights on. And he gives you quality at bat day in, day out, So.
It's funny you say Juan Soto, and that's a guy that you really don't play against much because he's in the National League. Do you watch him?
I played against him last year, but before that, I had fun too. So, and especially for Dominicans, I follow him. So he's the guy that I have the chance to watch any baseball game. I will take a basis to that.
It's funny because that was going to be my next question because, when I spoke to A-Rod about this, and Alex is the kind of guy that will watch 15 games if he could. He would play, go home and watch. But then I know a lot of other guys who don't know anything about baseball outside of their team. Like they don't watch baseball. They don't, so you're a guy who actually goes home. You enjoy watching other players play.
Yeah, I mean, I have fun, like I said. So anything that I can do to help my game, we'll be watching games, watching film and learn from other players, and no matter who you are, if you left, you righty, I can learn from something. So every game that I can, I'm watching not only the hitters, but the pitching. Maybe at some point I can face a guy and then know what to expect. So, like I said.
When you were growing up in Dominican Republic, who were you a fan of?
Bloody Guerrero.
And what about a team? Did you have a team? Did you have a team that you followed?
Yeah, the Expos. They have Pedro, they have Bloody, they have Marcelo, so I follow those Expos.
Yeah, man, those teams. I'm like 5 years older than you, so I remember those teams well. They had a lot. Delino De Shields was on those teams. Those teams, Galarraga, those teams were great back then.
Yeah, I mean, those are teams that are electric. They have so much talent, and So as a Dominican, you follow the teams that have more Dominicans on, and that was my case.
100%. You know, when I was a kid, it seemed like everybody was a Toronto fan. Remember that? Because we had Tony Fernandez was there, Manny Lee, Alfredo Griffin, George Bell.
Yeah.
So what does next year hold for Nelson Cruz?
Well, I mean, I got away into the work years over and see what the picture comes. You know, hopefully I can stay in Minneapolis and play there. You know, but at the end of the day, I know it's business, so it's not gonna give me a surprise if they don't sign me or not. I understand the business side, and I'm always grateful for the time to be there and the fans, the whole organization flat. So, like I said, hopefully I'll be back.
Nelson, thank you from the bottom of my heart for taking time out to be with us today. Un abrazo, te aprecio, and in the future, man, the Sergio Rodriguez Show is your home. Whatever time you need to promote something for charity, this is your home.
All right. Thank you, brother. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, that was Nelson Cruz from the Minnesota Twins, and you've been listening to the Sergio Rodriguez Show, a show unlike any other.